Melisa.
Hi.
And hi, Ashley. And hi, everybody on the call, by the way. And Melisa, is it Wink?
Vinke?
Vinky? Okay.
Vinke.
Yeah. Sorry, butchered your name. Melisa Vinke is our guest today, so I'm so excited for her to walk us through what a TC should do.
Should do,
And why we should all have transaction coordinators. But just so everybody knows, we are here early, so we are going to mingle a little bit. And then just so you know, Melisa Winky, that usually when we are doing to the open to the public, we have my tax attorney talk for like the first 5 minutes, just kind of something structural. Then you are going to come on right after that. Does that sound good? So we are early. Who wants to share a win? Go.
I have a win that's overwhelming me. So we have, so our team was asked to help with like 250 rental properties, placing them into a company. So they want us to work 25 to 30 leads at a time. And I'm like, oh my God.
Amazing.
Meanwhile, still trying to sell houses and agent attract. So I'm just like, oh.
I know. We're learning always something new, right? Like I know. This is why I love real estate, is because if I had a job where I walked to an office and sat down in a cubicle and did the same, I don't know, data entry job every single day, I would shoot myself by Wednesday. Like there's no freaking way that I would last, right? There is no way. I would hate my job. I would be bored out of my mind. And in real estate, like not 2 days are the same. You're never working with the same client. I mean, sometimes you sell them multiple houses, right? But they usually buy a different house and it's a different lender and it's a different, everything's all different type of loan and it's just different. It's never gets boring. And there's always something of like, oh, I've never done that before. Like we just had in our team call, what was it, Christy, a rent to own or something? And I was like, I've never done a rent to own.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Somebody's going to have to call the broker and ask them, right? So even 11 years in, there are certain things that I've never done it. I have no idea how to do it. And you learn something new every time.
Go. Do y'all have Divvy where you're from or where
What's
you
that?
practice? It's a rent to own program, but Divvy buys houses in cash and they rent it back to whoever. So you get your commission and then, they buy back the home in a year or 3 years.
Love the idea. Divvy, how do you spell it? D-I-V-I?
DIVVY, and they give bonuses just for like getting people signed up and approved. It's crazy cool.
DIVVY. Guess what we are Googling today, Christy, right? Added to the never-ending squirrel list. I think just before you came on, Christy, I was telling them about how something's genetically wrong with me. And that's why I have a million ideas and a million squirrels.
Well, you have a mutation. You're the yellow mutation and I'm the red mutation. So we are literally the opposites, even on the mutation level.
That's
or whatever.
amazing. Oh, you got your results back too?
Well, no, I just looked at it and watched it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
You based off of the actual.
Yeah. Did you actually do it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's how I got it.
Give anyone my DNA.
Yeah, I got those results.
I don't want to be in the system.
They have it already. They have it somewhere.
I guess if you go to jail once,
they have your retina every time you open this.
True.
Right?
True.
Like, might as well just give it.
They don't have my blood.
You never given, like, they never taken blood from you in your lifetime?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I didn't even think of it that way.
They have it. They have it. Trust me.
True.
Trust me, you're in a system at some point.
Okay.
You know, we go down on the alley of theories. Well, is Toby here? Are we at time yet? Oh, 1:02. Is Toby here?
I am sitting right here.
Oh, hey, Toby. You didn't chime in at the conspiracy theories. I'm surprised.
Do you want to go live? Do you want to go live first, Gogo?
Oh, yeah, let's go live.
Yes, I do. Just kidding. Okay. Let's do this live on Facebook. In the meantime, Toby, what are you going to teach us today?
Well, that's a really good question as to what we want to nail on. I can give you guys a variety of topics. We can go over basic estate planning 101. We could go over the IRS and all these new agents. We can go over the economy as a whole and what you guys think.
Okay, you guys pick.
Nobody?
Toby, let's talk about the
all
economy.
new auditors. Let's go over all the new auditors.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of those. Like if you guys want to go over the IRS, I could tell you from what we're already getting feedback in the field of the new agents. They're peaches, I'll tell you that much. But there is a lot of misconception about what's been going on in the Internal Revenue Service with the Inflation Reduction Act. You hear about these 87,000 agents. I'm just going to put something in perspective for you real quick. We're at historic unemployment rates. We're still, even with the markets doing what they're doing, having one of the worst starts of all time, we're still ridiculously strong job market, one of the historically, arguably the best that it's ever been. We have over 11 million job openings. So if somebody wants a job, they're going to get a job, period. I don't know where they're going to find these agents, given that they're competing with all these other jobs. I mean, some people gravitate towards government work, so that's possible, but I don't know where they're going to find them. And all it is, it's really over a 10-year stretch, you're replacing agents. So it's not like they're hiring 87,000 people next month to audit a bunch of taxpayers. They're really replacing what's been a drain. And you guys can't, or you guys may not know this. You probably don't represent people in audits, but what we've seen over years in my firm, just to give you an idea, we do about 10,000 returns a year. You saw the audit rate drop probably 70% in the last 10 years since we had the big recession or depression, whatever you want to call it. They call it the Great Recession, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, where we had that big, huge correction. The IRS has not been rehiring. So they've been having
Yay for us.
Yeah, well, it's been great because I could tell you who gets audited pretty easy. Like you could actually, the IRS publishes its data every year on publication 55, and it tells you exactly who they're auditing. And right now we know that if you're a millionaire, you don't have a huge audit risk. If you're over 200,000 to about $1 million, you're at 0.1. You want to get audited, take the earned income tax credit. That's where they're having their smorgasbord right now, because those folks are poor and generally don't get accountants and EAs to represent them when they get audited, so they tend to pay. So the IRS has focused its attention on using the algorithms on who they beat. The other people they beat, unfortunately, is the sole proprietorships. Sole proprietorships lose their audits 94 to 95% of the time.
How many of the realtors you would say are sole proprietor?
I would say probably 70% of the folks are reporting it on their Schedule C, which is your
So
audit.
what does that mean, and how does one know what they are? I know today, but if you asked me 3 years ago, I was like, I don't know.
If you do not file a separate tax return for your business, then more than likely you are a sole proprietor. In fact, 99.9% certain it's going to go on your Schedule C. The audit rates on Schedule Cs are, if I compare two businesses, here's agent one, agent two. Agent one is a sole proprietor or an LLC disregarded, and it files on your tax return. And agent two is using an S corp. The likelihood of audit for agent one, it's about 1,000 to 1,500% higher, literally, than agent two. Like it's not even close. They're just, it's quite literally 0.1 compared to 1.5%, which is a 1,500% difference. So 1,500% more likely to get audited. It's still a small percentage. I don't want to scare everybody. Oh, you're going to get audited for sure, but you will get audited in your lifetime for sure as a sole proprietor, and you'll lose that audit 94 to 95% chance, so.
Okay, so raise your hand if you are a sole proprietor. I can't say that word. Raise your hand if you are a SP, a sole proprietor right now. You have an LLC and you do not draw a salary. It's the easiest way of saying.
I mean, it's not, guys, it's the easiest route, and 70% of businesses are set up that way.
So
But
you have to get to a point where the easiest way for me, that's how I understood it, right? You can draw a salary. If you can employ yourself and draw a salary, you're no longer a sole proprietor, right? Because you're the employer and the employee. So you have to get to that point to be able to draw a salary, because then you're only paying income taxes on the salary, not all the money that hits your bank account. And you have different protection, right? That you don't have as just a simple LLC.
well, single LLC, somebody says that we need to become millionaires. Now, you know what? The numbers pencil out, even at $25,000 a year, the difference from a tax perspective. The S Corp actually saves you employment taxes. That's its big saving grace, but it does a couple other things that allows you to do what's called an accountable plan, which allows you to deduct things that you wouldn't otherwise get to deduct. As a sole proprietor, for example, you can write off a home office. Most accountants say, hey, let's do a home office. It's a separate form on your tax return, but you have to use the gross square footage of your home, or they use this $5 a foot for the area that you're using exclusively for your business. And I'll give you an exact example. If it was a 10 by 15 room, you're going to get a $750 deduction. If you did that same room in a typical S corporation, the deduction is going to be $3,000 to $5,000. So, so you just look and say, hey, what's the difference? It might save you $500-600, but on average, I can just tell you, just on the self-employment tax, it's about $1,500 a year savings, just if you were an S corp and you're making $25,000. It's significantly higher if you make more. So just from a tax saving standpoint, you go, hey, one is better than the other. But from the audit standpoint, it's not even close. So a guy like me, I'm a tax attorney. So I look at this saying, hey, my job is to mitigate risk. How do I keep my clients from having interactions with the IRS? The way you do it is
having interactions. I like the way you put it. It's like you're gonna hang out at Starbucks and grab coffee. I'm sure it's like pleasant having IRS knocking on your door.
Here's a quote from an IRS agent. I'll actually pull it up because I still have it. It's a buddy of mine's a CPA who used to work for me, and he says, oh my God. So he was just having fun in an audit, and he goes, what did he say? What was my favorite guy? God, he was just going through a nasty audit, and he says, oh, don't cite code sections at me. I represent the interests of the government. I don't care the way you see it. The CPA was literally citing the law, saying this is how you do this. And the agent's response was, I represent the government. That's actually an illegal take. You can't do that anymore. It's silly. But that's what we're seeing in those dang audits right now. It's combative. So we've had a couple of those. We had a audit, one of the very few. We had I think less than a dozen audits last year out of 10,000 returns, just to put it in perspective. And the agent that we're dealing with, it's on something called bonus depreciation. If you guys don't know, when you're an investor, you depreciate a property, but you can accelerate that, take about 30% of the property in the first year if you know what you're doing. It's called a cost segregation with the bonus depreciation. It's massive if you have wealthy clients that are real estate professionals or who invest a lot. It's a game changer. The agent didn't understand basic depreciation, and they were auditing a real estate agent's return that was also an investor, and they qualified as a real estate professional. So they were wiping out almost all of their income by investing in real estate as a result. If you don't understand all those concepts, go to my YouTube channel and spend a little bit of time. But the agent knew nothing about depreciation, let alone bonus depreciation, let alone cost segregation, let alone real estate professional status. That's what we're dealing with right now. And I expect that that's what's going to happen when they bring in all these new agents, is you're going to have a bunch of idiots out there auditing, which just means, like, don't fret. An audit isn't all that hard. An audit's pretty simple. You're arguing with the calculator. They just tell you what you owe. You could take it immediately to their Office of Internal Appeals and deal with a CPA or an attorney that's actually working there. So a lot of times people freak out. They're like, oh my God, the IRS is asking me for stuff, or my state is asking me for stuff. You sweat, you get freaked out. Don't. they're a calculator that, you're arguing with a robot. And a lot of times
Every time I get an IRS letter, I'm opening it. I'm like, I wonder what's inside of it. It's freaky. It's freaky to open those letters. But I want to add on to this a really quick, because it's very, just like realtors, right? It's very important to have whoever's representing you, that CPA who's representing you, to understand where you're going, right? Not only where you at, but where you want to go. And your CPA might tell you, which I am on my 4th CPA now in my career, right? And I am with Toby's and Toby's company, Anderson Advisors, and I've been with them now going on, this is our 2nd year together, right? But I've been told by 2 previous CPAs that, oh, you're not there yet. You're fine, just stay in an LLC, because they're going to tell you, because when you start an S corporation, draw a salary, now suddenly you have to pay what's called payroll taxes. And it's no fun. It's no fun. It's just an additional set of stuff and steps that you need to take. And they look at that's expense, right? You're going to accrue this expense, but they don't look at it. Okay, but what am I saving? Because I am willing to pay $5,000 in expenses if I'm saving 70. I'll do that all day, every day. Right? But a regular CPA is going to tell you that you're not there yet. And, when you get there, you're going to have payroll taxes, and let's not deal with that. Right? In my opinion, you need a new CPA. If that's what your CPA is telling you, then get a second opinion from somebody else, because I wasted about 8 years of my career with around 2 CPAs who've been telling me that. Right? And I ended up paying shit ton of money in taxes, and God forbid if I would have get audited, right? The chances would have been much higher. Thank God I've never got audited, and I would like to keep it that way. If you would like to get a quote, thank you, Toby. We are way over 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your knowledge and sharing it all the time. Again, you can go to YouTube and check out Toby and all of his wonderful videos. If you really have nothing else to do and you want to learn about taxes, yay us, right? I don't know how he does his job. I find it fascinating though, but man. So the other thing is, if you would like to get a quote from their company, just to kind of look at your setup and see if you should go over to an S corp versus an LLC, or maybe you don't even have an LLC, whatever you have going on, Lindsay already put the link in the bottom. It's a free quote. You just sit down with their people. I worked with them for 2 years. You know me, I do not ever recommend any company that I don't personally use. So if I don't use them, you're not going to see them on here. I've been with them for over 2 years. They're wonderful. And before I started working with them, I spent 2 years researching who's going to be the next company that I'm going to hire, right? So they not just my CPAs, I call them my board of advisors. So Toby's actually my tax attorney. I have business planners, asset planners, tax advisors, financial advisors, you freaking name it, I have it, right? They have everything in-house. So that's why I chose to work with them, besides the fact that they are, of course, one of the best in the industry, in the nation. So thank you, Toby, for being here. If you want to get a quote and figure out if you need to switch CPs or not, the link is in the chat box. Today,
Go.
Yes.
Can I ask Toby one question before he goes? Toby, are you still on the line?
Yeah, I don't know if he's still
I'm
here.
still rolling here. Yeah.
Hey, Toby, quick question for you around S Corp versus LLC. What if you have an LLC, but you're filing as an S Corp? Does that also provide that you're in this new status versus the extremely auditable folks?
Yes. So James, great question. And the IRS does not know what an LLC is. That's where people, they set up an LLC and they think that they set up a business. The IRS doesn't know what it is. So if it's disregarded to you, the IRS thinks it's you. If you say, and it's really easy. If you guys are an LLC, it's literally one piece of paper you file with the IRS. It's the 2553 to make it into an S corp, and it will save you so much money. You're making 100 grand a year. It's literally about $9,000 to $10,000 in your pocket just for changing that designation, because you don't have to pay the self-employment taxes on everything anymore. So perfect. Yeah, you're good, James.
Thank you.
Great question. That's what I do too. LLC, file as an S corp. Well,
you need to talk about making money. Like, get the tax nerd out of here.
I know, but it is very important, right? Like I told you this. In 1 year, I paid almost or close to 400 or just a little over 400,000 in taxes. That is stupid, guys. The only reason you do that is because you don't know what the heck you're doing and you're not surrounded by the right people. This year, I'm going to make just as much money. And I'm telling you, not even near going to be paying the taxes than I did in the previous years. So it's not just about making the money, because we don't get education what happens after you made the money. That's why we have you here, Toby. Because raise your hand, everybody, put your camera on for a second, just so Toby can see this, why we have Toby on here, so he can understand the importance of this, even though it's boring as F, right? Okay, so most of you put your camera on. Okay, almost. We have a full screen. I'll wait 1 more minute. Put your camera on. I'll ask you a question. It's gonna be fun. So we learned how to make money on our own skin, right? Because even in real estate, they don't actually teach you how to go sell a house. They don't teach you how to market it. They don't teach you how to negotiate it. They don't teach you how to freaking fill out a contract. They don't even teach you how to open a lockbox, right? But we somehow figure out to make money. Now raise your hand. Do they teach you what to do with that money after you made it? Anybody? Did one person raise their hand here to be like, no, I got it all figured out. I got amazing training on what to do with my money. No. And then one day you wake up making $400,000 and you're $89,000 in credit card debt and you have no savings and you still have to pay your taxes. And that's what we don't want to do. So Toby, I'm all about making money, but I'm also all about saving that money. And I'm also all about keeping as much as we freaking can, because giving it to Uncle Sam is not going to help you. It's not going to reinvest it in. Uncle Sam is not going to call you and be like, hey, here's 40 grand back for marketing. Not going to happen. Uncle Sam's not going to call you and be like, how about here's 40,000, save it for your children for college. Not going to happen. They're also not going to put it into your 401k either.
Let me just drop this one thing at you guys, and then I'll get out of your hair. You guys are in a unique position because you're a real estate professional. The government will subsidize your acquisition of other real estate with tax benefits. You guys may not realize that.
Hold on, we have no idea what you just said. The government will subsidize your what? Break it down to like my level of English.
All right. So what they'll do is they'll give you tax breaks that are not available to anybody else because you're a real estate professional. They'll actually allow you to pay little to no tax on it. And they're giving you that tax benefit, which is usually equivalent to the down payment on properties. So like the government will actually help you buy the properties by giving you a tax break on it.
Toby, is that for primary purchases or is it also for investment purchases? Can I use it for multifamily? Can I use it for any real estate purchase?
Any rental if it's investment property only. So it can't be for your personal home. It has to be for investment. So if you're buying multifamily, single, even if you do syndications, it's weird. As long as you qualify as a real estate professional, and they have the term called material participation. I'll give you guys the code provision so you can go nerd out on me. It's 469C7 of the Internal Revenue Code, and it has to do with passive activity loss rules. And you'll see that if your primary business is a real estate trader business, you are no longer subject to that rule. As long as you materially participate on your rental properties, which is really easy to do, you guys could buy an Airbnb. Like Gogo, you and I have had this conversation. It's like, hey, you want to wipe your taxes out? Here's what you do. You got to buy more real estate. You guys happen to sell the very assets to other people
that we don't buy ourselves.
Yeah, you should be buying your own. You should be.
So Toby, next month, can we do a whole episode on, look at it, raise your hand if you want next month, how to invest and what to do. Yep, that's what we
I'll break it down for you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so can you break this 469.C.7 Internal Revenue Code down for us for licensed realtors?
Yeah, I can break it down for you guys exactly how it works. And it works for some of your clients too. If you want to sell a bunch of properties to doctors, for example, you sell them short-term Airbnb for 1 year. And they manage it themselves. It's no different than if you guys have you ever been told to buy a car at the end of the year so you can write it off? They treat it substitute property for car, because for you guys and for people that are doing Airbnb, that's no longer a real estate investment. That may as well be a piece of equipment. They allow you to depreciate it that well. You could actually accelerate and write off about a third of that property in the first year and use it to offset your other income. So if you have rich client, doctors, lawyers, a bunch of accountants, investors, even real estate agents like you guys, I know a bunch of EXP folks are just absolutely killing it. You want to knock that income down, you go and you buy properties that allow you to take a write-off in the first year. It's called accelerated depreciation. It's
So
gonna
what I
go,
do is I have a meeting with them quarterly, right? So I call on my board of directors and quarterly we have a meeting because it's not just, you don't want to have a surprise in the end of the year. And in November to find out that, oh, you need to go buy a house very quick, or you're gonna have to pay how much in taxes, right? You want to have quarterly meetings and say, hey, this is what we achieved this quarter. This is what I'm anticipating next quarter. And then they're gonna tell you, you're gonna have to buy a house.
yep, and
You're gonna have to go buy a car. You're gonna have to go do this. You're gonna have to go do that, right? So you're planning not afterwards to be like, well, that was stupid. You're planning ahead of time to be like, I'm never gonna pay that much in taxes ever again. So
That's-
having them understand where you're going. Because think of it this way. Most people don't need a tax advisor or an asset planner because most people make $150,000 for the rest of their lives and they get a 3% raise every year, right? We don't have that. We don't make the same amount of money with a cute little percentage raise. You can literally make 10 times more money than last year, or you can double your income every single year. You can make $100,000 this year and $2 million next year. That's not the same, right? So if you're growing that fast, or if you have the opportunity to grow that fast, you have to pre-plan for that. You don't want a big fat surprise in the end of the year. And you don't want to, what happened to me one year, I doubled my income, but I had to pay so much in taxes that I actually took less money home. So let me get this straight. I'm gonna work twice as hard to take less money home. Well, that would be what? Stupid. And I'm not in the business of stupid. I am in the business of making more money, but that means I have to learn something that I didn't know at this level so that I don't make the mistake of making more money but taking less home, right? So Toby, thank you so much. The link, guys, is in the comments. So if you want to get an interview with Toby's team and just see where you're at, where they can take you, can they save you money, yada, yada, and help you plan for the future, the link is in the comments. Today, thank you, Toby. You're the best.
You got it. See you guys.
Today, I have to call you, Toby, because I have 2 questions for you, but I'll call you today or tomorrow. Today's guest is Melisa. So here's the thing. There's this quote that's called, then if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant, right? So number one, before we get Melisa Vinke to tell us about her amazing transaction coordination company and what should a transaction coordinator do for you, what they do, what they don't, how much they cost, how you pay them, yada, yada. I want to do a quick little exercise very quick, because that will open up your eyes, or should you or should you not have a transaction coordinator? And trust me, you should, right? Because if not, you're doing the data entry job and that is not what makes you money. Where do you make most of your money? In some cases, you might work with sellers or you might work with buyers, right? Or you might have a 50-50, but it's selling the next house, right? You do not get paid when you're when you're sending the addendum over to the title company. You do not get paid for that. But that needs to get done in order for that commission to hit your account and get to the closing table, right? So I want to do this quick little exercise. Write down the amount of money you made last year. Whatever that number is, take your calculator and divide it by 2,080. That is your hourly rate. So every time you do whatever you do, whatever you did last year to make that much money, that's how much you make in an hour, okay? That's the easiest way of doing it. For us, though, realtors, I want you to take it one step further and calculate it in a different way. Write it down on the listing side and on the buy side. You might not know those numbers, right? So if you don't know how many transactions you did on the listing side last year and how many you did on the buy side, I want you to go back later and calculate it, right? But I want you to write down these 2 numbers. On the listing side, in average, we spend about, if you're really good at your job, right? You've been a few years in, you know what you're doing when you're working with sellers. It should take you about 7 hours from getting the client, from the initial phone call, going out to the property, touring the property, sending documents, putting it into the MLS, marketing it a little bit, negotiating it, final walkthrough, showing up at the closing. It's about 7 hours. On the buy side, though, you end up spending more time because you're going to show them a bunch of houses, right? And then you're going to have to negotiate a bunch and you're going to have to make 10 offers and one gets accepted and yada, yada, is just more time on the buy side. So let's say put 15 hours. So if you know that your average commission on the listing side, let's say is $10,000 divided by 7, because for that 10,000, you worked about 7 hours. What is your hourly rate on the listing side? Okay. And on the buy side, take that average buy side commission and divide it by 15 hours. Your buy side hourly rate is always lower because you work more for the buy side commission. Right? So now that you're going to have a number for that, I want you to listen when Melisa talks of how much a transaction coordinator costs, because here's the other thought. How many hours do you think you push paper? So of those 7 hours that you worked with the seller, how many of those 7 hours was actually you on the computer responding to emails, creating the addendums, plugging the things to the MLS, adding the photos to your MLS, like all of that things, like how many hours is that actually, you would say? Let's say it's 4 hours of the total of 7, right? Because some you spend online, negotiating over the phone, those kind of things. So if it's 4 hours for you, the paperwork, and when Melisa says how much they charge for that, think of it this way. What if you gained those 4 hours back? What if you have somebody do that for you? And you take those 4 hours, if you went and did, now this is the next part of the homework. You're going to look at your listings and you're going to look at where did they come from? Literally. Did they call you? Did they Facebook message you? Did you meet them at their open house? Was it a referral? Like, where are they coming from? And then take that 4 hours that you just saved for yourself and spend it where your listings are coming from, because that's how you're going to make yourself more money. So Melisa, now that we all know our hourly rate, or we have a clue, please tell us about your company and your services. And do you have a presentation?
Yes, I have a screen. If you just
Awesome.
get the presentation, yeah.
That's why I was asking. You can go ahead and share. Because we are all in the business of making more money, correct, everyone?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, go.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much, GoGo. I appreciate you very much.
Same
So
here.
yes, obviously, most of you should know what a transaction coordinator is. So I'm not really going to go into too much of explaining what that is, but what we specifically like to share and let everyone know is that we are on that front line. I say that to everybody. We are on the front line of the transaction on behalf of our agent. So you're not having to worry about all the little nitty and gritty of conversations, the documents like GoGo was talking about, you're compliant. We're managing everything in a very efficient and professional way to make you look good so you can continue to make the money, right? Give me a second. This is an Apple and it's my husband's computer, and I'm not an Apple person. I use PC.
Oh, it took me years to get used to it. I wanted to be on every time.
I'm like, I don't know how to work this. I just wanted to share a little bit about me. I have been in the industry since 2001. I started as an admin. That was what I learned. Anything about real estate, had no idea what it was. And in 2007, I got my real estate license and I did sell up into 2014, 2015. Life happened. And then I also realized I really did not want to give up real estate. And I love the admin side of it. So then my business was born in 2014. And so I have a huge passion to watch real estate agents just grow as much as they want. We have the ability to help them get to where they're wanting to go with our services. We do now have 42 coordinators, and we are in 19 states at this point. We are obviously going in other states as much as anybody wants us. We're going and we're willing to take our knowledge and experience in other states. Just a little bit about our model and how we're set up, just so you have an understanding of how we work. A lot of our coordinators are built to be able to build a business what's inside my business. Kind of think of it kind of like a brokerage. So we have coordinators that are obviously helping their agents grow, right? And so our agents should never feel like we can't keep up with their growth. So my coordinators, we bring in transaction coordinators somewhat underneath them, if you will. So we have multiple people on a team to help our agents consistently keep going to that next level. So we're growing with our agents. And a little bit about me personally, I am married, happily, family. We got a blended family. We've got 7 kids and 2 dogs. Hopefully the dogs will be good while we're on the call, but right now they are home and no kids are home.
That's amazing. I didn't know you have 7 kids.
We're blended, yep. Ages
That's amazing.
16, 15, 14, almost 14, 13, 11, 10, and 7.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a little crazy, but, and we are based in Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully one day moving back to Florida. That's where I started my real estate career. GoGo, you're there now. That would be really cool to back there. So we'll see. I'm gonna move this over because this is in the way of what I was. So how do you determine if you need a transaction coordinator? Well, GoGo, everybody here should know you should already have one. The ideal client for us, we typically like to get I love new agents, mostly because I just have the passion of teaching people things that they don't know, that most of the time you're not going to learn in real estate class, right? So getting those people and molding them to where then I can do my job without them nitpicking at me. So they can just trust my process and I don't have to, because it is we do learn, because obviously there are a lot of agents out there that are have been doing this a long time. They have a hard time trusting our process. And it's one thing we say a lot. And because I've been doing this a long time, I have put a lot of trial and error in the system that we have been doing. And we have perfected it. We're always learning. Obviously, everybody does things slightly different. And I do feel like we do a really good job at adjusting where we need to a point for the agent. So they're feeling like they're getting that special attention, but we do have a process in place. But the ideal client typically is somebody that is at that 3 to 5 deals a month, and they're just not able to get to that next level. And so when they bring us in, now they can really focus on getting to that 7, 10, 20, because now they've leveraged themselves. That's the typical ideal client that we like to get on to use our services, because they really need us at that point.
Yeah, I actually don't let agents on my team, so on the Go-Go's real estate team, my Michigan team, right? I don't let my agents to use transaction coordinators, even if they want to pay for them, until they did 10 transactions, 5 on each side. The reason why I do that is because you need to learn your contracts, right? You need to learn the process. You need to understand what's going on, who you need to talk to if the deal is going south, who can save the deal. And if somebody else is doing it for you, you're not going to truly understand it. So on the first 10 deals, ask Clancy, ask Devin, they're not allowed to use a transaction coordinator. After that, they can. After they had 5 deals on each side, but until then they cannot, because I want them to learn the contracts and learn the process.
That's great. Yeah, because obviously, as I was saying, the newer agents are typically the ones that don't know what they're doing, and I'm typically helping them learn everything, and that is more work on me. So I appreciate that you do that and make that a standard, because it is important for them to know what they're supposed to be doing, and that makes them appreciate us more as well, because they actually do understand what it takes to do all the things. So I'm not really a follower on, I like to just talk. So if I start falling off my process, don't mind me. I really like talking people one-on-one. And so listening to myself talk is like, oh my gosh, am I making any sense? I want people to engage. So please engage with me. I do much better at that. But what I really like to do is make sure that you guys understand is, for us anyways, it is extremely important that you guys are focusing on doing, just like Go-Go says, out there prospecting. You're building relationships, you're going out in the homes, showing home, listing homes, doing those things, and then you get it under contract. Once you get it under contract, we'll assign you to a transaction coordinator. As I said, we have tons of them, but you are only assigned to one person, because that relationship is something that gets built over time. So that is your person. So as soon as you go under contract, I would love it if every agent would get a hold of this. And when you go under contract, you're either letting your coordinator know via text, email, phone call, I don't care what it is. We're not going to require you to do an intake form. I don't need to make more work on agents, okay? There's a lot of other coordinating companies that will require you to fill out a form for you to submit a contract for them to actually start working on it. We don't do that. We want to make it easy. We do have a form that you fill out when you sign up, but that's it. You're just setting it up to where you're saying, hey, I've got a contract, give us the property address, and it should be somewhere in your DocuSign, Zip form, whatever platform you're using, and we'll grab it. And we'll start working on the contract as soon as possible. So obviously the earlier the better, because we are going to help you with scheduling inspections if it's a buyer file, right? We're going to know who your vendors are because you gave us that information. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get that knocked out, make sure that deposits being taken care of, whatever wiring instructions or instructions that are needed to get that taken care of. We're going to be handling those 2 major things that have to be done right away, right? And then we're going to go ahead and send out introductions. And we do have a set of introductions that go out. It is systematic. So we do have emails, that templates that we use throughout the transaction. Obviously, there are conversations that we will continue to have that does not sound robotic, because we are not robotic. We do have systems in place, templates that you will see on a regular basis, especially when we're opening a file. But the conversation pieces are real people actually communicating throughout the transaction with all parties in the transaction. So obviously there's everybody here. So different states, attorney state, title states, we know all of them. We're very knowledgeable in their processes. So as soon as we get that, introductions will go out, and then everybody knows who we are. I would strongly, and I can't stress this enough, if you do choose to hire a transaction coordinator, I would love it to be us, that you are communicating with your client, that you have a team member that is managing the transaction, so that when we do get involved, they're not going, who's this person? And then we're kind of left being like this weird person that nobody really knows who they are, and your clients won't communicate with us, because your job is to delegate us to them. And there
I
is,
do that from day one. As soon as I get a new client, right, buyers or sellers, we have the initial conversation before I even go out to their house or before I even meet them first time. I always say, hey, let me tell you very quick how we work.
yes,
Right? And that's when you say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. Of course, I'm here for you to market, to negotiate. I'm going to be the one showing you the houses, but I don't push paper. I don't have time for that. That's not my job. For that,
Right.
I have Melissa and her team. As soon as we go under contract, they are the one that's going to sending you all of the communication. I'm always going to be copied on it, but I don't get involved because Melissa knows what she's doing. So all of the paperwork, you're going to be dealing with Melissa's team. Now, at any time you have a question for me, you know where to find me, but don't ask me for paperwork. I don't do that.
yes, yes. And that's typically it. And I appreciate, as soon as you can get that understood, your life would be a lot easier. So when you're not doing that, you will start getting those phone calls, and then you're going to have to go, hey, remember I told you about my team member? I'm out on the field. I would love to answer that question for you, but I'm just not in the place right now. That's why I have my transaction coordinator. And
Plus, it makes you look better, right? Like when you say,
Yeah.
hey, let me tell you how we work, and they're
Right.
like, oh, you have a team. You have
a
They
team.
think you have employees, right? They're not.
Right.
It doesn't work for
Exactly.
you, but she does work for you, right? Because she doesn't get paid unless you get paid. So it
Exactly.
just makes you look like you have your shit together, excuse my French, right?
Yeah.
And it makes your life much better, so you can go chase that next commission and not having to do the nitty-gritty paperwork of it.
Right. And actually, I want you guys to share us as a team member. We even have people using us in their marketing pieces. We are a team member. We utilize we create signatures specifically for every agent. So when we are sending emails on your behalf, we're not just a third-party vendor. We are part of Team GoGo. We are part.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that.
Yes. So when we're doing anything that's for our agents, we may still have our email address, but our signature for every email that gets sent out is the matching of our agent. So we're presenting ourselves like them. We are
that's amazing.
Yes. Yes. So that is huge. That's one huge part of a feedback that I received many years ago that I did not have the ability to do in other emails. And so we utilize Outlook, and it allows us to do that. So yes. So I'm glad you like that.
Little things, right? And then you don't have to explain anymore. Yeah, who is Melissa? Oh, you don't have to explain it anymore because her email signature tells exactly who she is, and she's on her team. Love it.
Yes. So anyways, back to the negotiation part and everything else that we're handling. We're managing all pieces of the transaction, managing people. I do tell people this a lot. We can be a bit bossy. Christy might have heard this from me at one point, because she's like, oh my, like I can be a little bit abrasive, but in a good way. Like you want people that are strong at communicating and knowing what they're doing and how they're going to hold everybody accountable to the transaction. So
because if you're waiting for that signed addendum, right, and it doesn't come back and lets you outside of your negotiating period or whatever, right, and then you call Melissa's team and be like, where's my addendum?
Yes.
If she said, oh, I don't know, we sent it on Tuesday, we didn't hear back, we're just kind of waiting on the seller, I would be pissed, because it is your job to get the freaking signature and get it on time, right? That is not my job, that's paperwork. So sometimes you do have to be abrasive or pushy or so sad, because you have to go get that addendum, because things are tight to time, right? So that I can go sell the next house, I don't have to worry about things coming back on time. And if you have to go and like raise your voice at the listing agent so they get it signed and get it back to you on time, then she will do that.
Yes. Yep. And we will. And we can be, we're going to do things very professionally, but if there's a point where somebody's not getting back to us, we're calling, texting, and emailing, and our tone may change a little bit. Like, hey, this has become now an urgent matter. I represent my client. So if it's starting to getting to a point where my client's now in a pickle, that's not okay with me. And so, like I said, you'll hear me say it all the time. We're on that front line, our front line for our agents, so you guys can continue to look good and make money. But at the end of the day, the only thing you're responsible for is negotiating. We're not going to be negotiating on your behalf. So if there's a point of repairs coming in and there are issues, you will have that conversation with your client, work that out. All you need to do though is tell us what it is that you agree to, and we will draft up that addendum. That's it. you're not having to worry about the paperwork, but it is your job to have that conversation. And then you just circle back and let your coordinator know however you want, either email, phone call, or a text message. I don't care how you deliver it, but then they will handle the addendum, amendment, whatever state you're in. They're all named something different. But we will handle it and get it circulated for signatures and make sure that it gets done and returned in a timely fashion, okay? We are also managing compliance. That's obviously the big part of what most people believe a transaction coordinator is, right? Transaction coordinators typically are known as paper pushers. I actually don't like to call myself a paper pusher, even though that is what we do, but it is not all of what we do. It's just a portion, but it's also a really big part of what is important for you to get paid at closing, right? So we take that very seriously. So as soon as it goes under contract, we're already checking I's dot, T's crossed, everything's in order, all of the addenda, riders, exhibits, again, whatever state we're in, we're making sure that they're all lined out, everything is in order, so we can get it submitted to your office so that everything is in order, so you can get approved and we can get a CDA. You guys are all EXP, so everything's gonna be in SkySlope.
Yeah.
If it's another brokerage, we obviously manage different things, but we're very familiar with that process. I do have a quick question for you guys, because I know a lot of you are on here. We have run into some issues with EXP not allowing the TC to be paid on the CDA. Are you guys still running into that, or is that just a hit and miss in different areas?
I think it's per state.
Okay, yeah.
And also in some states, it's required if the TC is licensed to be licensed at EXP.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just state dependent, right?
Right.
But even that, if you can't do it at closing, just cut a check and
Exactly, or we just
pay an invoice later.
Right, and we'll go over how we get paid as well towards the end. But that is part of the reason why we make sure you're compliant, so you can get paid at closing. So that is, you still get a CDA. I may not get paid off the CDA, but you still get it, and that's what's important. And we will send an invoice after closing to make sure we collect payment once you do close. Okay. This is just going over the whole compliance. Systems and processes. All right, so just a little bit about what it is that we utilize. Everybody, you'll find tons of different transaction coordinating businesses using different, systems on their side to help them stay on track with their system. So we have recently, about a year ago, we used pre-close for many years. We just started using Basecamp, and it is freaking phenomenal. I love it. It's become more simplified in our world. It's not as busy as what we had used before, which was a little hard for me because I'm a very detailed person. But Basecamp is what we use, and we will also share it with just our client. So the agent will also get access to this. You're not going to see everything that we see, because you're going to just get like, I don't want to know all the things that you do, but you will also see deadline, the calendar, invites to anything that might be due, that we might have you do. So we have some agents that say, hey, I really need to be reminded to order a gift for my client. We can add that into our step, and then it's set up to where it reminds you, hey, don't forget to do this. So this is a system, and it is really, really has taken us to a whole other level in managing our transaction. So I just wanted to share a little bit about this with you. Go ahead.
I couldn't tell you how many times I brought a closing gift literally 10 minutes before, like literally driving to closing. And I'm like, I wonder if there's like an alcohol store on the way, or I wonder if there's like a floral shop on the way, right? Like I'm definitely one of those agents that needs to be reminded that, hey, get a closing gift.
Yes. And we have the ability of doing all that. So whatever you may be doing, because I can't expect every agent to work the same way, because then you're not unique, right? So everybody's going to do something slightly different. So your job is just to let us know, hey, these are the few things that I really want us to do when we get closer to closing. Google reviews, we'll do Google reviews. So if you want us to send an email right before closing or after, I prefer before, because that's when they're happy and they're going to be willing to leave an actual review. Once it's said and done, they may procrastinate in actually doing it. So I always suggest doing a Google review right before closing. That's just my opinion. But those are just some things that we can add into our checklist. So our checklist is systematic, and it is the same every time, but every transaction is slightly different and every agent is slightly different. So we can edit those to fit your needs. Okay. So we're not robotic. We're not doing things in a specific way that is never going to change. Okay, we're willing to work with you to figure out what that is. I am kind of getting towards the end of my presentation, but I do want to let you guys all know I'm going to open up to questions because it is a bit of a shorter slide. But I do want to go over what would need to take place if you were interested in using our services. Team GoGo does have a link, and I don't know if Lindsay's going to put it into the chat.
It's in the chat box already.
Perfect. Awesome. So if you are interested, please click on that link and that will send me your information. Then I will contact you. Okay. And then once I contact you, there will be an additional conversation over the phone. I like to get to know you on a personal level, get to know your goals, then figure out who's going to be your assigned coordinator. Okay. It's kind of like a matchmaking thing. And then there will be an additional link that you will get from me, which will be a new client form that will go over anything that we would need from you, your SkySlope, zip forms, whatever platform you're using for signatures. We'll need to have access to all of that because again, we're going to be on your behalf, getting addendums, anything that we need, amendments, whatever it may be, your vendor list, anybody that you are using. We love building relationships with vendors. That's another thing that we feel like we do really well is building those type of relationships. So if you have an inspector, an attorney or title company, handyman, whatever it may be, we really like to engage with them because if we're working as a team, your life is so much easier. I actually meet with these type of vendors all the time, and they actually have vendors that are paying our fees. So if you guys have anybody that is like, wow, really love your coordinator, they are teaming up with us to free up your cost, which again, we're really not that much money as Team GoGo said, as GoGo was saying, our fee really doesn't, it makes sense for you to be able to continue, but we do have vendors that are actually paying our fee if you utilize their service. That's just a really cool to tell you a little bit about how much we're doing, and vendors are noticing it and they're like, well, we'll pay for your fee. We want you on every single one of these deals because you make us look good and our client looks good, which is the agent.
Who are those vendors?
We have attorneys and lenders and in Georgia. That's typically because I'm here. Those are the relationships I have in this area. I have some people in Florida.
Okay.
I would also add if there, if you do get yourself a little worried, which again, don't think you should be, but if you ever get worried about the fee, I don't know if GoGo, have you ever suggested this, but adding it to your buyer brokerage and listing agreement?
Yeah, so we have well, here's the thing, right? So at EXP, not every state allows a transaction fee. But if your state allows, well, there's even from the states that they allow transaction fees, in some states, even though it's allowed, it's not normal. So they feel weird charging it. Yeah. And then in other states, it's like in Michigan, we always had it, they always charge it from day one. I always charge a transaction fee and it's $5.95 per deal, right? So that transaction fee that you charge will more than pay for the transaction coordinator, right? But if you don't charge it, maybe you never have, and you need to, you feel like I should start charging it, you can absolutely reach out to your state broker, see if it's standard in your state, or you can put it in the chat box here. If somebody from Team GoGo is in that state, they can tell you if they're already charging it or not. But that portion is state specific as well. If you're in Michigan, you can charge it, you can keep it.
Yep.
And then it covers your TC.
Yep. It's pretty amazing. There's nothing really out of your pocket. So
yeah, but I love the idea.
We are worth it.
Yeah,
yes.
But even if you're not charging a transaction fee, or if it's not normal to charge a transaction fee, even just the idea that you said here, like maybe go and talk to your lender and say, hey, listen, since I'm sending you all of the deals, would you cover the transaction coordinator's fee on all of the deals that I'm closing?
Or even half of it, right?
Or half of it. Throw me a bone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So about those fees, this is our next slide. We are $400 per transaction. I know GoGo mentioned listings. We do offer listing services. I did not put this on the slide. We do offer listing services. It does tend to fluctuate only because listings can typically be a little bit different with agents. There's a little more of a sensitivity when it comes to what they're willing to let go of. Obviously, we want you to let go of everything because we can do it really, really well. And you're just out there again, going on those listing appointments. So for listing, if you were to utilize full service, it ranges anywhere between $275 to $350, but that gets paid when it goes live, okay? But that also means that we're taking on, your job is just to get a listing agreement. That's it. Everything else, as soon as you get the listing agreement signed, you're sending it over to your listing coordinator. We are going to draft up any other, disclosures, anything that may be needed for that particular listing, anything that your office is going to require for disclosures. You probably have an EXP affiliation disclosure, think wire fraud, things like that. We're going to go ahead and gather as much information as we possibly can. We'll also be introducing ourselves to your seller, getting on the phone with the seller, talking about the details of understanding the home. If you have not provided it to us, we're willing to engage with them as well to try to get as much information as we can to help input the listing into the MLS system. Scheduling pictures, making sure you have a lockbox out in the property, getting a sign out there. We're not running it, but we're going to make sure that somebody's out there doing it so we can check off that box that your listing has been ready to go, is out there. We even do coming soon. So there's a lot there that we do. Now, if you just want us doing paperwork, that's minimal, like $100, $150. Again, every state's different depending on the documents that are involved. But if it's just paperwork, we can just handle that. Or if you just want us to do data entry, if you have the listing ready to go, you've given us all the information, you just want us to enter it into the MLS, that's $75. That's just inputting it into the MLS. Okay. So again, we try to be as flexible with that, because every agent, they really have a harder time letting go with some of those things. And so we are open to having that conversation. So you just let me know, hey, I'm willing to let go of this. This is what I'm hiring for you to do. And we'll have that conversation. Now, contract to close, that's where we shine, because we're really good about that. Not that we don't do well in listings. We do have amazing teams that do that. But our contract to close, when you're actually getting paid, is when we get paid, right? If the deal does not close, we do not get paid. I say this over and over and over again. This is a relationship. So if I'm making money and you're not making money, what do you think that's going to end up happening? Resentment. And I don't want any resentment. I don't want you feeling like, well, I've got to pay you and I didn't make it. It could have gone sour. And that's just not the relationship and what my business is about. We are in it for the long haul. I've been doing this for a long time. Real estate's real estate. If we're not closing them, nobody's making money. So we're not going to do that to you either. Okay. So we also utilize QuickBooks. That is how we invoice. So if we can't get paid off of the CDA, we will send you an invoice through QuickBooks. And it's a very easy and friendly process where you would just click a button and we're paid. And that's typically, and you you already kind of went over the math on all that. So I was just going to, it's just one deal. You make $6,000. You just add one more, it's really already paid us. Just there's really no math in it. It doesn't make sense why you wouldn't use it, because it completely makes sense for you to make one extra deal. So just think 2 deals, $400 to us, and you just made
12. Yeah. You want to look at it as everything that you do takes time, right?
Yeah.
So if you had a choice, should you push paper or should you go get another listing? Which one is going to make you the next $6,000? Pushing paper is not going to make you the next commission. So you need to remove that from your plate altogether, because you should only be making money making activities.
Exactly.
Right? Otherwise, you're going to run out of time and you won't possibly be able to make more money. So you always want to remove stuff from your calendar that doesn't make you money. Only do things that makes you money, and everything else hire out. And the best thing with transaction coordinations, right? It's not like an upfront cost. It's not like you got a file and you have to pitch out $400. You got a file, and if and when that file closes, and if and when you get your commission, that's when they get paid.
Yep.
They don't get paid unless you get paid. So you could be working on this deal for 5 weeks and deal falls apart. Guess what? You don't get paid. They don't get paid. Nobody gets paid unless the deal closes.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. That's really all I have. So if anybody has questions.
Awesome. If you want to stop sharing so then we can see everybody's beautiful faces and see if anybody has any questions. Let's open it up. Ask away, guys. But I think you did a great presentation, right?
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I had a transaction coordinator, and I had to stay on top of them. Like, like things didn't get sent out and then I didn't get paid on time. So I'm a bit leery of giving that over again. So like, do they make sure that everything's in SkySlope, that everything's updated so that when we're 3 days out, that everything's been sent over to them, and, checking and making sure that all the disbursement documents are over? And I mean, do they help us keep in touch, like with the dates in the calendar?
Yes, ma'am. So yes, so that's part of what I was going over. So when we get a file, our first 3 days, everything should already be on SkySlope. It should already be approved unless we're just waiting on a couple of things. So you should never worry about not being paid. If they're not doing that, that's because somebody's too overwhelmed and they're not able to do what they're supposed to do in order to get you paid at closing. Now, in regards to deadline, we have that system called Basecamp, which is going to also remind us 2 or 3 days prior to a deadline coming up. And our job is to stay, again, frontline. So we should not be being managed by you. So that we do tend to get a lot of business because there are agents that are like, well, all I had to do is constantly tell my coordinator to do this, do that, do this. That should never happen. Not in my world. Our expectation is that we should be letting you know what's going on. And then you're like, all right, cool. Thanks for handling that. So deadlines are being shared in our email. So our introduction email will break out all the deadlines just so everybody knows what the deadlines are. Then we're going to be following through and making sure that you are aware, hey, your repairs, your inspection was done 2 days ago, haven't heard from you. Have you been talking to your buyer or your seller about whatever being negotiated? What can we do to help you get this thing moving along? So we should be doing those things on your behalf. So I apologize, you did not get that.
And so like sometimes, you know, like, for example, documents are being signed and sometimes they have to initial the third page of something. Will they go back in and like update all, you know, like separate the files? And so you don't have, like, you just give them what you have and they'll take it from
You don't
there.
even give them anything. They're going to be logged into your SkySlope. So as soon as you have a bottom line agreement, they see it right in there. So imagine this, you're never going to see another addendum ever again.
I love that.
Yeah.
Not another signature, not another, you won't even catch it. You won't even be getting the emails. I mean, you're going to be copied on the email that there's an initial missing on page 3, but more than likely they already caught it and they already sent it out for initials. And by the time the other party's asking for it, they probably just received it back and sending it out. Like you're not going to be doing any paperwork. Like even addendums, the way I used to do it, like I'm leaving the inspection, right? And I'm a voice noter because I can't voice text because text to talk in an accent is not what they receive on the other side, right? So I usually leave a voice and I said, hey, I just left 123 Main Street. We did the inspection. Everything was fine. We agreed to ask for $5,000 seller's concession. Can you please make the addendum? Let me know when it's done, right? And they just text me back and be like, hey, here's a copy of the addendum. Already sent it to the buyer. Oh, buyer already signed, sent it on to the seller, right? So I don't have to do anything. I just tell you what to do and I don't even have to do the addendum anymore.
Yep. That's how it should work. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I don't email. So I tell my TC right away, I'm like, you're going to hear from me via text because I don't spend any time in front of my computer. I have 87,000 emails. I don't check my emails. So when you're going to hear from me, do you mind if we just text back and forth? And she's like, absolutely.
Yep.
So you can work your way. If you prefer email and put everything in writing, you can do that. If you want voice note via text, you can do that. You're going to have one TC that's always your TC and you're going to form a relationship with. So it's not like on this file, you got this TC and on that file, you got that TC and you don't know which TC you need to talk to, right? You always have that your TC and that person learns your lingo of how you like to conduct business and you're just rocking and rolling every time.
Yeah, I wanted to add in on that because I've been talking with Melisa for quite a while now. And you guys, I'm not joking. Her team, they have it down. There's not just one TC for the state of Florida, one for Georgia, one for every state. She has a team of TCs who are trained in that state. There's more than one agent, like more than one TC in that state, and they manage that state. And it just grows, you know, as they grow in that state, their team grows as well. So honestly, I am so impressed by her team and the skills that they have. It's really been awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do we have any other questions? We are 1 minute over the hour.
In Illinois, he's in Illinois.
Are you guys in Illinois?
We are not. We have had some studying of the contract. So if you have one, that's another thing. Thank you for mentioning. So if we're not already in your state, we are going to discount your first 3 transactions so I can understand your contract. I'm a major geek when it comes to contracts, so I love reading them and getting to understand them because every contract's slightly different, but the terminologies are the only thing really should be different, the way the timelines are lined out, but contract, real estate's real estate, right? So I would just need to see that contract, make sure that we're reviewing it so I have my timelines and everything the way we need to. So I would love your business in any state. I have actually coordinators that are wanting to be in Illinois as well. So I would love to bring somebody in for them. So they have someone in Illinois.
Do you have anyone in North Carolina?
Oh yeah, we have phenomenal coordinators in North Carolina. Yeah,
Great. My other question is, I've only been with EXP for like not even 6 months yet. So I kept my original program not in SkySlope. So I download from that program and then load it into SkySlope. Is that something you guys would do from there?
Yeah. You shouldn't ever be in SkySlope unless you're filling out a contract.
Okay. And I don't fill out my contracts there. I fill it out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You should not. So as soon as you get a contract in whatever program you're using, which is fine, you're not the only one doing that. We will be the one uploading into SkySlope.
Okay.
Yeah, so I use that loop, Angela. So we use that loop, and I'm not.
I love
I'm an old horse. I don't want to learn a new trick, so I'm not learning a new trick. I did the same thing. I was like, I don't care how much that loop charges. We are keeping it and we're paying it. Right?
Yep.
So that's
the one I use. Okay.
Yeah. So all of our
love
contracts are
Dotloop.
written in Dotloop. As soon as they're bottom line, that's when they get transferred from Dotloop to SkySlope.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
when you do go under contract, all you just need to say is, hey, contract executed in Dotloop, loop is such and such. And then your coordinator grabs it, organizes it, make sure they get everything, and then they input it into SkySlope.
Okay.
I mean, just that alone.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, hey, I don't care what you charge. You do that. Right? It's like, oh, I hated that. I mean, I remember when Dotloop came out, when you could email it, like each loop had its own email, and you could send a file to Dotloop email
I do
address.
it every
Like,
day.
oh, they changed my life.
Yeah.
Right? Like downloading and uploading contents was the most tedious job ever.
Yes.
And nobody's time for that.
And it's
That's
our
not a
favorite.
money-making activity.
Yeah. For us, it's fun. So.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you. Did we answer everybody's questions? Hopefully it did. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. We put the link in there, so please make sure your team checks it, because I'm sure you're going to have applications. And
Give
then
me phone calls. I just hired 7 more coordinators. They've all been through the training. So we just want more business, more business, more business. So please, we are
awesome.
ready.
Yeah. I'll make a post too. I'll create a video and make a post too, and then we'll share you guys' link there too. So thank you everyone for being here. If you're a Team GoGo agent, tonight at 8 o'clock is Wine Not EXP. So if you have that agent that you've been talking to and you would love them to be your business partner here at EXP, I'm presenting tonight at 8 o'clock. I'll explain what we have to offer here on the Team GoGo organization, what EXP has to offer. All you need to do is invite your guest. If you're a Team GoGo agent, I do this for us. But thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you later tonight at 8 o'clock. Thanks everyone for being here. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.